Anyway, moving on from that story to some positive news. Okay, once again, the theory of Bernie-crat liberalism being the savior of the Democratic Party is real. The method is real. We are now moving on to New Jersey, my birthright, the beautiful state of Nueva Jersey. Okay.
8:40, Tom Malinowski walked into the Sweet Spot, this bar, hipster lounge here in South Orange, where supporters gathered for what was supposed to be a victory celebration. And he came in victorious, smiling. People were hugging him, cheering him on. And soon he was whisked away to the back of the room into a private room. And he never returned, never came out from that.
Ain't no way a fucking YouTube chatter just gave me a super chat saying, did you see the new racist AI video from Trump? Ain't no way. YouTube. Ain't no way. YouTube chat is now resembling Twitch chat. Down to the guy who responded to that super chat saying Hassan shocked his dog. I like that now my haters are they're tuning into the fucking YouTube stream as well. I just got done covering it.
Why? Because Ana Mejia, a far-left progressive activist from Glen Ridge, has basically stunned the political landscape here, the political world, by coming from virtually nowhere and leading as the night closes with almost 500 votes ahead of Malinowski, which is nobody. That was not on anybody's bingo card, frankly. And now Malinowski's people are huddling and are talking about evaluating the vote by mail ballots to make sure they're properly cured with proper signatures. And
now this is not done yet. Okay, it's not done yet. But my analysis on this is that this is a spectacular underdog moment here. Okay, regardless of whether or not Mejia wins. Okay, because this is like she came out of fucking nowhere for the most part. Everything was positioned against her, and yet she was able to overcome all odds. Like her overall expenditure is so marginal in comparison to everybody else. Like look at the ad support. Girl, there's a chatter on YouTube that keeps typing the N-word with a hard R. You need mods in there ASAP. We don't got nobody looking in there. I don't see it. Yeah, we got razor thin margins here for Mejia.
It sort of augurs what could be a very long, tedious fight. There's no one's using the word recount right now, but I think one of the big ironies of this race is that the American-Israeli Political Action, or Political Affairs Committee, the most powerful pro-Israel lobby in the United States, launched ads attacking Malinowski in this campaign, which startled many political observers around the country. The outcome of that is that...
Why is this reporter so timid? Because this is unheard of. Okay? This is an incredible upset. Like the very fact that this is contested in the ways that it is unfucking heard of. And a big part of it is because of AIPAC interference. This story basically takes all of my my arguments and turns it into proof. Even if, I mean, there's a high likelihood that she wins. Okay. But even if she did not, with these results being so close to one another, it still is the proof that I have been advocating for. This and the Texas race that took place as well are two massive W's in the The left alternative position being the one that is favored by even Democrats in the fucking suburbs. Okay? You must understand, if there was a little bit more support for her, like this is why I feel somewhat responsible for like not being everywhere all at once, because I do feel like there are a lot of races out there where I don't think I have a lot of motion, right? I can't change like outcomes so dramatically, but I could certainly help a little bit more. Like this is one of those races. And I'm aware of this. Like I'm certainly aware of it. That's why I'm trying to do all this shit that I've been doing. So last night, the decision desk basically gave what's his face, Milanowski, the victory. Last night,
everyone.
Milanowski was called, and then all of a sudden, because it's like Essex is a relatively wealthier district, a lot of straight blue voters on there. The Democratic primary here is obviously the most consequential aspect of this race, and the expectation was, Malinowski cooked it, right? He won. But out of fucking nowhere, Mejia's campaign pulled through. Mejia's campaign pulled through with this incredibly rare upset. All the cards were stacked against her. People overlooked her in general because they thought the district is too rich to go for a Bernie-crat. It's very wealthy, 97 percentile, very educated, 96 percentile, very Gen X, 97 percentile, very homeowner, 72 percentile. Okay? Or 72% home ownership rate. Truly a tremendous upset for the demographics, right? Because these are the demographics that are the reason why Bernie Sanders didn't win in the Democratic primary, for example. This is the Democratic Party's Tea Party moment coming to fruition. Okay? Not only was the voter profile, the average voter, the median voter in this district, one that is supposed to favor an establishment Democrat in the calculations of the Democratic Party does, the Essex County political machine was also not in support of Mejia. Okay? This is before we get to the other side of the story, the AIPAC aspect of the story, which I will be getting to in a second. This was, hold on, where was it? Or there's more. Oh, here. Yeah. And if you want to look at the actual ad support, Tahisha Way, which was the AIPAC candidate, got $2.6 million worth of ads from AIPAC subsidiaries. The anti-Tom Malinowski ad spend was around $1.9 million, and Tom Malinowski was supposed to be the candidate that was favored to win this race. Former congressperson, right? He had all the backing. He had the background. He was the perfect candidate for this. Okay? Malinowski had 900,000 in supportive ads. Brendan Gill had 495,000. Zach Beecher had 340,000. Ana Lilia Mejia had 215,000. And the highest spending advertiser in the contest was United Democracy Project, which I think is a AIPAC subsidiary. Okay? So basically, the entire race was designed in a way where Mejia should have lost. This was her final day message that apparently resonated with a lot of voters. Let's take a look.
Morning.
While I go pee.
Up and down, talking to people. That's how we win. I'm running for Congress. The special election is on February 5th, and I'm running because I think our government has been bought by billionaires, and we're screwed if we don't send people who aren't untethered from that kind of pressure.
I agree.
Well, there you go. I think corporate interests, lobbyists, have bought our government.
Absolutely.
I think on both sides of the aisle, big money kind of controls both sides of the aisle, Democrats and Republicans. And unless we send people who are like, I'm not going to be part of that machine, we're not going to get out of this mess. So I jumped into this race. I am not a politician. I am not a professional campaigner. I am an organizer. I am the kind of person who sees a problem and jumps in to fix it.
Governor Phil Murphy signed the $15 minimum wage into law.
Paid sick leave is now on the books in New Jersey.
Ana Lilia was active in my presidential campaign. She's a great organizer and somebody who is going to be an extraordinarily wonderful congresswoman for the state of New Jersey.
We need an organizer's energy in Washington to do what people of New Jersey need done.
Folks have talked about the rising cost of childcare, of housing, of healthcare. I've seen people get emotional over the idea that they don't think their kids are going to have the same opportunities that they have had.
I feel for my kids and my grandkids, and something's got to give.
Chocolate? Chocolate's here. General trend towards less and less freedom is nauseating.
We come to Livingston, Milburn, Bloomfield, Nutley, you name it. We come to these communities because we want to raise our families in a great, friendly place, access to the city and train lines and infrastructure. We want access to the good schools.
De no desamparar a nuestra familia. En este momento donde la familia, papá e hijos son separados. Es súper importante.
We also know that a zip code does not protect us from rising violent authoritarianism.
In a moment of rising authoritarianism, of economic insecurity, of state-sanctioned violence, any old blue just won't do. And I say, abolish ICE now! You can't reform that! It's not fixable!
I am running independent from the machine because I think big money has captured our government.
I appreciate you even within the Democratic Party recognizing that it's a problem.
Well,
and it's getting worse.
It's getting so much worse, but if we keep sending people who are, all they do is dance for that money, we're not going to get out of the situation. So I'm proposing try something different.
I like the words you use.
Okay, all right.
Ana Lilia.
It's like voting for Congress. Oh,
yes. Yes, that's me.
I read good things about you.
I've heard good things about you. Don't forget, February 5th, it's a Thursday. They do that on purpose.
Seemingly, this strategy resonated. The early vote versus election day split was something never seen in a New Jersey race before. Yeah, when you look at the vote by mail, Malinowski, December 20th and onwards, got 72%. But the in-person early flipped it in Mejia's, in-person early started flipping it in Mejia's favor. Okay, 51% from January 29th to February 3rd. The election day split was gangbusters for Mejia. 64% of the vote. Now, this was a phenomenal upset for that reason, and that's precisely the reason why the decision desk had already called it for Tom Malinowski. The Democrats, the DNC press, had sent out an immediate press release congratulating Democratic nominee Tom Malinowski on his victory in New Jersey 11 special election primary. This was a campaign that famously had that Bernie moment where he went on stage and said, our fight is not just with the Republicans, our fight is also against the establishment Democrats as well. If you remember, this was something I brought up briefly because it was a big point of contention for a lot of blue dog Democrats that got very frustrated. Okay? I saw a clip of your Billie Eilish coverage. I'm a Tongva tribal member, and it's been super annoying, but I will say that landbag and indigenous people are a major blind spot in left circles. I think having some native community leaders on your stream would be great for your audience and the larger left politics. Sure. Except the Tongva tribes literally thanked Billie Eilish, no? Am I crazy? I was talking mostly about how, they were using and abusing the reputation and the name of the Tongva tribe to attack Billie Eilish in the most cynical way possible. Money is just not as effective as it used to be. It's why the establishment is trying to buy off creators with a chorus program. Yeah. The Votes versus Ad Spend campaign for New Jersey 11. Ana Mejia's cost per vote was just $12. That's 4 times better than Malinowski, which cost $55 per vote, and 19 times better than Waze, which was $237 per vote. That efficiency is massive organic left-wing support from voters. But we still haven't talked about my ops, the United Democracy Project, which is an AIPAC subsidiary, AIPAC by a different name. Now, this gives me a lot of confidence because I was worried that people would just laser in on AIPAC and AIPAC alone, which has the highest name recognition, and not see that as a catch-all for the Israeli lobby or numerous other entities affiliated with the pro-Israeli position. I was also worried that AIPAC never actually makes Israel the primary focus in these sorts of ad spend campaigns when they're going up against the candidate, but instead find other identifiable features that they know is much more prescient, much more salient to attack, right? Because if you recall, I covered this extensively when AIPAC dumped $30 million into Cori Bush's race and Jamal Bowman's race. They never talked about their Israel position, because if they had run any ads, on the Israel position, that would have actually favored Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush respectively, right? The real purpose of the AIPAC ads, AIPAC-backed ads, were actually to, in the Democratic primary, separate Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman as bad Democrats that don't play ball. It's a very cynical way that these guys operate, but they already know better than anybody else that the pro-Israeli position is not a favorable position, especially in the Democratic Party's base of support. So they never run pro or anti-Israel ads. They always run ads that are pertinent to whatever the individual race is. Now, a lot of people don't understand that AIPAC has always done this, by the way. This is not new. So this person says, it's so fucking funny that AIPAC tried to play it clever by flooding the zone with Tom Malinowski isn't progressive enough ads without ever considering that it'd make voters Google who's the progressive for New Jersey 11.
The special election to fill Mikey Sherrill's House seat. Tom Malinowski says he'll stand up to Trump. But hold on. In 2019, Tom Malinowski voted with Trump and the Republicans to fund ICE.
Think about this. You have to remember, these guys are 100% like AIPAC and all these other ad groups, like all these other lobbyist groups, 501c4s, these PACs. They are policy agnostic in their ad campaign. They will literally run a Tom Malinowski is not sufficiently anti-ICE ad because they thought Tom Malinowski is the guy to beat here, right? The reason why they cynically attack Tom Malinowski is because they did not even consider that Ana Mejia would have any shot at winning this race, which is why they beat the shit out of Tom Malinowski with these attack ads that presented him as a fake anti-ICE candidate, because they understand that the appetite there was for a true abolish ICE candidate, okay? Understand this. Something that the Democratic Party at the national level refuses to reckon with, or perhaps they are aware of it, but they actively try to suppress this demand from their voters, okay? So there's a couple different things that AIPAC is doing, obviously, in their coordinated efforts to pump up certain candidates, in their coordinated efforts to attack certain candidates, right? If a candidate is anti-Israel, they go after them pretty hard. Tom Malinowski is not exactly anti-Israel, right? I mean, he has a position that's closer to liberal Zionism. He is the one who wanted to condition aid to Israel, right? He has talked about conditioning aid to Israel, which garnered a lot of attention and enmity from AIPAC. That is precisely the reason why they were trying to make sure that he doesn't win the race. And all this ended up doing was actually make people Google who the true progressive candidate was.
The $200 million
They
for
attacked
Trump's deportation.
Malinowski by bringing up his records on ICE. Because Tom Malinowski was also trying to do the anti-ICE pivot, right?
Force. $200 million that got us this? Democrats called Malinowski's vote a blank check for the Trump administration and a betrayal. We can't trust Tom Malinowski. UDP is responsible for the content of this.
Yeah. Here's what this was a spectacular backfire, right? Because Mejia was the anti-ICE candidate. She was an activist. She was a true progressive. She was backed by Bernie Sanders and AOC. She was a Bernie-crat, right? A left flank Democrat, as I like to call them, or a Bernie-crat. So UDP is the AIPAC subsidiary that was running these ads. They didn't put the AIPAC name on it. It was just basically the United Democracy Project. That's what they call themselves. You got the Democratic Majority for Israel, United Democracy Project. There's numerous subsidiaries under AIPAC that just like obviously don't want to have the association with the nation state of Israel, even though they are operating at the behest of the nation state of Israel. Okay? So, because this ad campaign rightfully called out the inconsistencies of Malinowski, a lot of people actually chose the true progressive alternative. And Mejia rose from that fight. What's also interesting, as I talked about with the ad spend here, was the fact that Tahisha Way, which was the AIPAC-backed candidate, barely secured the third place position. Okay? This is basically a combination of all of the arguments that I present. That the anti-Israel position is incredibly favorable, which is precisely the reason why AIPAC and its subsidiaries that don't even have the name Israel in them will never talk about the candidates' Israel positions, but instead other things. This also proves once again that the voter, the base of support within the Democratic Party, regardless of their demographics, regardless of their median voter net worth, income, still want a real fighter, a true progressive, and they see the best possible candidate as the most left-leaning candidate in these races. Okay? This is just proof that that is the case. There is no other way to describe how little money was spent on the Mejia camp that caused her to get this incredible upset. Here's AOC's statement on AIPAC expenditure here. I hope Dems begin to see that moderate or progressive AIPAC is not our friend. They endorse January 6th insurrectionists. Yet if you so much as suggest the U.S. uphold its own Leahy laws, no matter your record, they will work against you. They are a right-wing organization that undermines democracy. They have zero tolerance for any diversity of thought from their line and pressure elected officials to increasingly place themselves at odds with our responsibility to represent the electorate and the views of the majority of Americans who find the genocide in Gaza an appalling affront to American values and do not want to see U.S. taxpayer-funded weapons used to perpetuate it. AIPAC also knows this. That's why none of their political ads discuss the actual issue at all, and why they vaguely use vaguely named super PACs so people don't connect them with their own stated political mission and intent. You understand? There are multiple reasons as to why this took place. One of them is obviously the anti-AIPAC position, the anti-corporate PAC and super PAC position in general. Why are people saying this? Why are there hella people saying 27K, bro, fell off? Anyway. To the YouTube chatters, once again, don't forget to like the YouTube stream, YouTube live stream. And let's continue with the commentary. Okay. I think it's important that people realize people don't know if they're supporting or opposing AIPAC simply because they run ads under a different name. They're absorbing the content, and yesterday it meant weakening Malinowski. Yesterday was more about strategic blunder by AIPAC and less people finally turning on them. AIPAC's preferred candidate got 17%, but I don't think most people knew that she was backed by AIPAC. There's also some truth to this as well. It was definitely more so an AIPAC blunder because they tried to undermine Malinowski. And they tried to highlight their specific candidate, but their specific candidate had no motion. Okay? But it's still a massive fucking W, especially considering how much. Why undermining him? Because they thought he was stepping out of line. Okay? Because Malinowski had said that he would condition aid to Israel, and they didn't even consider Mejia as a threat. In any case, there's also this element. I grew up in this district. These voters are not socialists, and they're not particularly far left. Instead, they're normie Dems who are mad, like mad. And the progressive left is the only movement on the Dem side capable of channeling this level of anger. Exactly. This is the opportunity here. These guys are not card-carrying socialists. Many of them actually probably are terrified of the moniker of socialism, even if they actually have a lot of sympathetic views to what you would consider to be socialism in the United States of America in 2026. Having said that, however, if you were to be like, do you self-identify as a socialist? They'd be like, oh, absolutely not. But the reason why they want a socialist alternative is because they're slowly but surely beginning to recognize that the Democratic Party's description of progressive values oftentimes revolves around or is perfectly demonstrated by candidates who happen to be either socialist or socialist adjacent. Okay? That's it. That's it. The voters are mad at the status quo. They are mad at the status quo being represented by the Democratic Party because the status quo on the Democratic Party is doing nothing against the onslaught of fascism coming from the Republican Party. So any candidate that says, I'm going to take it to them, I'm going to fight against the lackluster, do-nothing position that the Democrats are representing, is going to be a candidate that actually wins a lot of favor with this base of support. There is no more loyalty to establishment Democratic Party politics like there was back in the fucking day. Nowadays, when the Democratic Party's establishment candidates say, oh, we are the real establishment, we are the real electability pick, you must vote for us, most Democratic Party voters do not respond positively to that sort of thing. You understand? They don't. They want something more. Zoran is only one part of the story. Okay? There are many more candidates out there that are running on this ticket that are not shying away from saying fuck the establishment Democrats as well as the Republicans. That is not a bad thing. That is a good thing. Here's Julie Rodzinski, who ran the super PAC in support of Tom Malinowski's campaign. I'm also a pro-Israel Jew. What AIPAC did in this race is bad for Jews, bad for Israel, and bad for having bipartisan congressional support for the very issue AIPAC claims to care about. Leftist obsessed Zoran endorsed Hochul. A totally valid thing to be frustrated with. I am also one of those people. Okay? I'll get to that in a little bit. Let's talk about something positive for a change before we talk about, another moment that I think is a misstep. AIPAC, the Alliance Super PAC, spent millions to defeat Tom Malinowski for backing conditions on U.S. aid to Israel. As I said, they may help elect Ana Mejia, a more progressive candidate who deems Israel's actions a genocide. Race is too close to call a spectacular own goal. Okay? There's another aspect of this story that I'm going to be mentioning here as well. Malinowski was a staunchly pro-Israel vote in Congress, but he said he wouldn't guarantee he would always vote unconditionally to send tax dollars to Israel in the future, and pro-Israel groups wanted to send a message to Dems that even their new balancing act will make them a target. And it fucking cooked them. Okay? Good job. There's also more positive news. For the first time, GOP strategists are telling Axios that losing the Senate, where Republicans have a 53 to 47 majority, is a distinct possibility. The House is already expected to be lost based on history. This is happening in spite. I need you to understand. This is happening in spite of the National Democratic Party, led by establishment Democrats, are doing everything in their fucking power to tarnish the left flank, to basically shut the doors to actual Democrats with real grassroots support. Okay? Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer are basically terrified of this prospect, or at least they're moving as though they're terrified of this fucking prospect. And yet, the Democrats have the motion, or at least the left flank candidates create real grassroots support around the Democratic Party. But once again, the last thing I want to say about the Mejia race, the last two things I want to mention with the Mejia race is that the abolish ICE position is spectacularly popular. Okay? No matter what Hakeem Jeffries and stupid ass Chuck Schumer try to present, the abolish ICE position is the fucking position. Democrats that are running for Congress, remember this. Okay? Remember this. I talked to two Democrats earlier today who told me about voters telling them they had planned to vote for Malinowski, but were either swayed against it or wavering because he had voted to fund ICE. Clearly getting that from Apex ads. And right now, as it stands, Mejia currently leads by just under 500 votes in New Jersey 11. Based on this outstanding vote, a rough estimate for net gain is remaining E-Day, Election Day, Mejia getting 100 plus votes. From provisionals, Mejia getting 350 plus votes. And the late vote by mail tabulations putting Malinowski at 600 plus votes, with the final margin, a rough estimate with Mejia being plus 350 votes. A razor-thin majority for Mejia, okay? That is where the fuck we're at. And that's the reason why this man was covering the story in the way that he was covering it, almost teary-eyed.
Malinowski may have lost, but they have also may have paved the way for a Mejia who is a critic of Israel. It's like maybe their worst nightmare. So we're going to have to see how this all plays out in the next couple days. I'm Charlie Style of The Record.